here to practice doing my presentation because I've recently been out on my... Polly! Yeah?
Too much noise.
Is there too much noise?
Sorry.
That's fine.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Okay, do you want me to...
Oh, we couldn't hear you.
Okay, well I've recently just been out in South Africa as part of my gap year and I'm going to be doing fundraising, so I'm basically here just to practice doing my presentation in front of people because talking in front of big groups of people isn't my favourite thing to do, so bear with me please. But basically I've been in a little preschool in a small town in South Africa. It's called Kokstad, and in that is like a small village called Twist Valley. In Twist, do you want to move to the next slide? These are the kind of houses that the children that I was looking after used to live in. In these houses, this one at the top has 4 rooms, that one has 2, but this one is just one roomed wooden shack. So the children I was working with, most of them were one of 5 children, one of the little girls I met was one of 9, so they were living in these tiny houses. So the preschool basically just got them off the streets. And these were some of the children. We just went into the town or the village one day and literally all these children just come running up to you because they love to have their picture taken. And as we had cameras, they just flocked to us. And as you can see, this was just on one street corner. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, probably about 15 different children, but then they ran off and got their siblings and they just all came running back. So yeah, the aim of St. Teresa's is to give these children two nutritional meals a day, which was breakfast and lunch. They tried to give 1 hot meal a day because in these houses they didn't have running water or electricity, so these children had no way of having hot food. It was also obviously to get them off the streets because there was 3-year-olds running around the streets, and as we all know that's not safe because even in South Africa there's cars going around all the time. There was also a safe environment because quite a lot of these children came from backgrounds which were being unemployed for generations. There was also a history of drug abuse and alcohol abuse. So these children weren't safe at home, that's if they were actually allowed to stay in their house, because most of the time during the day they were kicked out and made to play on the streets. And it was a basic education, so reading and maths, because that's something we take for granted out here, because parents can teach the children, like read bedtime stories, but because these parents don't actually have the resources to buy books for these children, if they didn't have this preschool, would be going into school at the age of 7 without any way to even be able to write their own name. But most importantly, it was to provide sponsorship for children to go to school, because we're lucky to have free education out here, but in South Africa you actually have to pay. So for your first year of school it's equivalent to, it's about 2,500 rand, which is about £120. So it's basically to give these children a way into school. And these were the children from last year who started school in January. A local farmer actually gave money for their school uniforms, but normally the parents would have to pay, but because again these parents are unemployed, there's no way of buying these uniforms. So yeah, as you can see, it cost £1,750 pounds for 13 children, but because these parents didn't have to pay anything, it meant these children got to go to school like all the others. Right, who they help? They're here to help vulnerable children. So the vulnerable refers to the children who are at risk from malnutrition, abuse and neglect, which unfortunately is quite common in this area because obviously the parents aren't in any condition to look after the children. Like I said before, it's got the culture of alcohol and drug abuse, domestic violence. Unfortunately, quite a lot of these children were witness to violence, so you kind of saw it in their display. They'd hit each other and not see anything wrong with it. They'd have scars and bruises. But yeah, and there was also a very high rate of HIV, but the trouble is, because HIV still has a big stigma around it, the parents refuse to get tested. So these children, well, there's drugs at the moment to treat HIV, but because these parents refused to actually be tested for it, these children were suffering from HIV and weren't able to get these drugs because obviously their parents didn't take them to get help. So another thing this school did is got them screened so they could then have the HIV tests. So this is one little girl, Tiana. The one thing I was told when I went out there, I was like, do not get attached. And of course the first thing I did, I got attached to this little girl. She is Tiana. She's probably one of the happiest little girls I've ever seen. She's always running around with a huge smile on her face, dancing and playing with other children. But in an area which was known for its alcoholics and drug abuse, her mother was known as the alcoholic of the area. So she is 3 years old, and at the moment she's the only child living at home. However, her mother has had 6 children. Her 2 older sisters were taken away by child welfare because her mother refused to send them to school. She had a set of younger twin siblings who both died from HIV, and then 2 months ago her 7-month-old brother also died from HIV. This little girl is still so lucky to survive, but the only reason she has been given, well, she's got a chance to survive now is because this preschool has taken her away from her home. So she's being fed because before she was being fed by next door neighbours. Her next door neighbour had 9 children of her own and again was unemployed. So this little girl has finally got some love and attention which she didn't have before. And then this little boy, Clinton, his mother is disabled, his father has had a stroke and is paralysed on one side. He has got 4 older siblings that are alive. His father killed his older sister when she was 2 weeks old. And then a month ago, his mother gave birth to another little girl. However, his parents cannot afford to feed him because obviously they're both, one of them's paralysed in a wheelchair, the other one's paralysed on one side. However, because there isn't any benefits in South Africa, you don't get any disability benefits. So this little boy and his brother are being looked after by his grandmother, who is also disabled because a stroke paralysed her. But again, St Teresa's has given this little boy somewhere safe and somewhere to feed him and given him the chance to go to school. Why they need your help? Well, since I've done this PowerPoint, there's actually now 43 children at the preschool, but the room is an old converted tennis pavilion, is built for 20 children. So, as you can imagine, it's absolutely crowded, especially on rainy days when we can't go outside, because these children were running around, hyperactive, and it was ridiculous. However, they received a quote from just a small mobile building, probably from the wall to that brick pillar there, and the same length, and that will cost them 10,000 English pounds. So it's my aim to try and raise as much money for them, just so they can give these children somewhere happier and somewhere better to play, because also as they want to educate these children, you can't educate 43 children from the ages of 3 to 6 at the same time, so hopefully we can raise enough money for them. But yeah, this is the area where they want to have the prefab classroom. It was donated to them from the municipality, but the trouble is, because there's a sewerage leak, one of the pipes is cracked, they actually have to pay to have it fixed, but I think somebody has recently just donated some money for them to have that done, so I need to take that up as well. But yeah. So yeah, all these children have stories like Tiana and Clinton, and they all need your help to escape the vicious cycle of drink, teen pregnancy and abuse. Please give whatever you can to these children, to give these children a chance of a brighter future.